Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever done that thing where you drop a metal spoon and then, like 5 seconds later, a glass cup? One gets a little dent, maybe the other just explodes into a million pieces. It's such a common thing, but it's actually a super cool scientific mystery hiding in plain sight. And today, we're going to solve it. So let's just lay out the central question right here. Why this huge, dramatic difference in what happens? I mean, really, what's going on? The answer isn't something you can see on the surface. It's hidden, deep, deep inside, down at the level of the atoms themselves. You know, in the world of materials science, these two things have official names. That spectacular shattering of glass, that's called brittle fracture. It's sudden, it's catastrophic. The spoon just kind of bending out of shape, that's called ductile deformation. A permanent change, sure, but without actually breaking. So those are the two behaviors we need to figure out. Okay, let's dive into this. To solve our little mystery, we need to put on our atomic detective hats. We've got two main suspects that really determine how any material is going to act. First, how its atoms are arranged, that's its structure, and second, how those atoms are held together, that's their bonding. Let's check them out one by one. First up, metals. Inside a piece of metal, you'll find what's called a crystalline structure. Now, the best way to picture this is to imagine a perfectly disciplined army of atoms, all lined up in these perfect, orderly, repeating rows and columns. This incredible regularity is a huge clue. Glass, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. It's got an amorphous structure. So instead of a disciplined army, think of a totally chaotic crowd at a concert that's been like flash frozen right where it stood. It's just a jumbled, random mess of atoms. There's no long-range order at all. All right, suspect number 2 is the bonding, the glue holding it all together. In metals, we have metallic bonds. You can kind of picture this as a flexible sea of electrons that are shared between all the atoms. It's like this non-directional, go-with-the-flow glue. But in glass, the atoms are linked by these super strong, really rigid, covalent bonds. Think of these more like firm, directional handshakes that lock each atom to its specific neighbors. Not a lot of wiggle room there. So we have our two main clues, the structure and the bonds. But here's where the mystery gets even deeper. You would totally think that the super-organized atomic army inside a metal would make it incredibly strong and rigid. But in reality, that idea led to a really famous scientific puzzle. And here it is, the strength paradox. See, back in the early 20th century, scientists did the math based on a perfect crystal, and their calculations predicted that metals should be hundreds, maybe even thousands of times stronger than they actually are. The theory just didn't match up with reality. There was clearly a missing piece to this puzzle. And here is that missing piece, the secret culprit that explains everything, the key to solving our entire mystery. Is this one little concept called the atomic dislocation. So what in the world is a dislocation? Well, it's basically just an imperfection, a little mistake in the crystal. The easiest way to picture it is like an extra half row of soldiers getting squeezed into that otherwise perfect army formation. And it turns out these tiny little imperfections are the real secret to metal's strength. And amazingly, its flexibility. So how does this one little defect allow a solid piece of metal to bend? Well, when you apply stress, the crystal doesn't try to break a billion bonds all at once. Instead, that dislocation starts to move. Bonds break and reform just one bro at a time, allowing the defect to just ripple through the material. It moves exactly like an inchworm, and this little incremental process requires way less energy, and it's what creates a permanent slip. And just like that, with the discovery of the dislocation and its little inchworm movement, all the pieces of our puzzle finally click into place. We can now officially close the case on why metals bend and glass shatters. Let's go back to glass for a second. With that jumbled amorphous structure, there are no orderly repeating planes of atoms. There are no atomic highways for a dislocation to travel along. So that easy energy-saving slip mechanism, it just can't happen. So what happens instead? Well, every single piece of glass has tiny, invisible little flaws on the surface. When you drop it, all the stress from the impact gets concentrated right at the tip of one of those flaws. The force becomes so magnified that it's strong enough to rupture those rigid covalent bonds right at the tip. This creates a crack, which instantly makes a new, even sharper tip, concentrating the stress even more. And the result is a catastrophic chain reaction that travels at nearly the speed of sound. And that is a shatter. So let's just put it all together side by side. Your metal spoon has a crystalline structure. Its deformation is governed by that dislocation slip, the inchworm thing, and the result is it bends. It's ductile. Your glass cup, on the other hand, has an amorphous structure. Its deformation mechanism is crack propagation, starting from tiny flaws. And the result? It shatters. It's brittle. Mystery solved. So why is this atomic level detective story actually important? I mean, it's a cool explanation for a spoon and a cup, but it's much bigger than that. This fundamental difference between ductile and brittle behavior has massive, massive implications for the entire world we build around ourselves. And yeah, this is really why it matters. By understanding these mechanisms, engineers can literally design our world to be safer. It's why we want bridges and car frames made from ductile metals that will bend and absorb energy before they fail catastrophically. It's also how we can intelligently design brittle materials, like tempering the glass on phone screens to make them way more resistant to those catastrophic cracks. And this brings us to a final, pretty mind-bending thought. Now that we understand the atomic rules that make glass brittle, could we maybe learn how to break them? Could we use this knowledge to engineer a completely new type of glass, one that can actually deform and bend, just like a piece of metal? It sounds like science fiction, but believe it or not, scientists are working on that exact problem right now, trying to push the boundaries of what's even possible.